This is the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast, helping you run your restaurant better.
Welcome to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. Thank you guys out there for joining us. As I say each and every episode, we love coming to you and bringing you guys new and exciting people that I get to talk to every 2 weeks when I post one of these. Today is no exception. Today I am joined by a special guest that I've known for quite some time, and she's doing some fantastic things. Her name is Angela Diffly, and she is representing the Restaurant Technology Network, but her experience and exposure, and even when her and I got to meet, goes way back. So, Angela, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about your background, and then we can dig into some of the topics for today.
Yeah. Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here today. Yeah, we go way back. That is an understatement, right?
Absolutely. I was like, I don't know how. I'm not going to put a date on it because one of those things you never ask a woman her age or her weight. I'm not even going to go there with that. I learned that long time ago, and I also know not to go into my wife's first because that's just another no that I learned. But so I didn't want to throw a date on there to have anybody date either of us. But yes, we've been working in and together for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah. So way back when, I guess it goes back, my retail / hospitality technology experience goes back to my Epson days. I was with Epson America for many, many moons, probably about 13 years in total as the corporate communications spokesperson for all of North America, really, and various markets, right, vertical markets. But their main markets, obviously, are hospitality and retail. I know that you guys have partnered with them for a long time. So so after that, I went off to be an editor. I worked in magazines, and I actually started my own small online magazine, SMB Retail, for a while. Then I went off and did something crazy and joined eBay as a communications consultant over in San Jose, and did a stint in Silicon Valley. And then I ran for the hills after that, and realized that was not my thing.
Yeah. And a little bit of a different world, Silicon Valley and restaurant technology, right?
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy though. We're catching up. It takes a while, but I see the restaurant technology space really innovating right now, and it's super exciting. So I came back to my roots when Abby Lorden, who is the vice president of brand at Hospitality Technology Magazine and Murtech, and they're all sister brands. We sort of decided together that we were like the superstar power team that created a lot of magic when we worked together previously, and decided to start this membership community called the Restaurant Technology Network together. And it's been alive and kicking for about 3 years now. And so we have just grown like wildfire. I think there was a real hunger, pun intended, I guess, in the restaurant tech industry for something that helped people collaborate in unique ways, especially technology to technology folks. So, we would have people come to Murtech and they would say, it's all great that you can talk to, the buy-sell community, right? We can talk to all these really smart salespeople, and we can talk shop. But what we really want to do is peek behind the curtain and talk to their technology folks, like the people that are like engineering and architecting the magic behind the solution. So how do we do that? And then, we just started percolating on this idea about how to bring the technology talent in the industry to come together collaboratively in unique ways to really solve restaurant challenges. And that's how the Restaurant Technology Network came to be. And that's kind of brings us to today, right? 3 years later and we've got, almost 300 members, restaurant brands and suppliers. So it's a very, very exciting world we're living in right now.
I love that. And I know we'll dig deeper into the whole topic of where the idea came from. Before we get too deep into the recording for today, I wanted to remind you guys of one of the partners that was on the show back in April. The founder of Pop Menu, Brennan, came on, and we were talking about reputation management and really managing your online presence. And I know for myself, one of the things that I always look for before I'm going out to a new restaurant, or to any restaurant for that matter, is kind of where they're at from a presence perspective. What does their menu look like on the web? And so the guys at Pop Menu have done a fantastic job of really managing their way through that. And so if you guys haven't already checked out the podcast that dropped back in April, go check it out. And they partnered with us on the podcast to offer $100 off of your first month if you go to popmenu.com/tech guys and check their stuff out. Great company, great product, and I would recommend anybody take a look at it. for those that aren't aware, and a lot of longtime listeners know that I often will talk about the fact that you've got to have a partnership with a technology provider that's willing to talk and play nice with others. And really, that's kind of what Abby and and the team, Angela, have worked through, is really figuring out how to talk to technology partners. All too often, people will operate in silos. So why don't you talk a little bit about kind of the inception? You alluded to it just there, that early on you were working, and Abby was working with different restaurateurs and restaurant technology providers in these trade shows. So why don't we take it back to even MURTEC? What is MURTEC for those that haven't been able to participate in MURTEC? For those restaurateurs that are out there that are listening, what is MURTEC? And why don't you give a little bit of insight to that, because I think it'll give some color to where RTM came from.
Yeah. I think thanks for bringing that up. I think that it's just so ingrained in my mind and heart. I think that the industry, might know about MURTEC. Some people do, some people don't, but it's been going on for this year. In 2022, it will be the 27th year of MURTEC. So it's been going on for a quarter plus of a century. And it's an exciting conference. It's the multi-unit restaurant technology conference. And really, it brings together nearly 500 restaurant operators who are all really technologists and buyers of technology. And, different various roles. I mean, it's kind of diverse over the years, but it really, the core of it is technology focused. Mm-hmm. And it's more like a giant networking event, right? We have a big hall where all of the sponsors set up their solutions. But the cool thing about it is we eat in that hall, we collaborate in that hall, we get together in that hall, we have presentations right around that hall. So it's all about bringing the restaurant community really together in unique ways. And the restaurants that do go, we have tons of educational sessions and seminars and breakout sessions. It's just a really where the industry goes to really source the best solutions in the what's hot right now. In 2020, right before COVID hit and the world shut down, we had our very first Startup Alley at MURTEC, which was another big hit at the show. We had about 16 or 17 startup companies that we're really looking to cultivate the startups out there that have innovative, entrepreneurial, scrappy ideas to disrupt the restaurant tech industry. I think that, larger players like you're seeing like the PARs of the universe acquire Punch. You're seeing cool things going, not only in acquisitions with restaurants like the McDonald's acquiring Dynamic Yield and Apprenti, and great things like that happening. But you're also seeing some interesting Domino's and Dragontail, for example. But you're seeing some interesting things happen, with supplier to supplier acquisition. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening out there. And, startups are kind of bringing those ideas to the market that are new and fresh that maybe legacy companies might want to partner with or learn from. So it's interesting to bring everything together. And maybe I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but really MURTEC is really where it all happens. And it's a really great show. I'm sorry, I misspoke. No. It's not Domino's. Domino's tested Dragontail, but Yum Brands acquired them.
I was like, did they buy them? I knew that they had gotten acquired. I didn't realize that. I was like, was it Domino's? So I'm glad you corrected that. Well, and it's funny that you talk about it because CBS has been attending the MURTEC show for quite a number of years. I don't know that we've been quite 27, but we're coming probably on more than 15 years of participating in the show in different aspects, and it's always fun because there's a lot of different brands and a lot of firepower that's in the room. And a lot of times these things happen on the trade show floor where you were talking about it, whether it be at dinner or in a breakout session or even, through lunch or whatnot. But the thing that I always came across at MURTEC was this weird, you've got different vendors in the room, and some of them know they need to partner, but don't necessarily want to partner. And, there's always this like jockeying for a position, whereas really where I think the RTN pieces and the stuff that you would talk about and why you guys developed the RTN really kind of flatten some of those things out. And so why don't you talk about where the idea of RTN came from, and then we'll get into some of the blocking and tackling of really the differences that it's making in the world of technology. Because really, again, some of our listeners out there are single unit operators, so they might not be able to go to MURTEC or might not know about MURTEC. And then there's others that represent really large brands. But a lot of times we're seeing these larger brands either buy technology or invent technology or partner with people to deploy things, and it really rolls downhill to the smaller unit operators. And so, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the inception of the idea, because I think 5 years ago, before RTN existed, there was a lot of stuff happening in silos, and you might be able to make a partnership and have some different ways of going about things, but it was really hard, and you guys are really trying to solve that. So why don't you give the idea of where the inception of RTN came from, and then we can talk about practically how it's working.
Well, yeah, like I mentioned before, the restaurants were like, can we peek behind the curtain? Can we talk to the people that are creating the solutions before they're created, so we can kind of tell them exactly what we need? And I think the biggest desire for that came from the interoperability headaches that they were suffering. It's these systems that are so disparate. And here you are trying to source the best solution for example, your loyalty solution, or your, online ordering solution, or your, anything really, your digital signage solution or your menu boards and your KDS. And you've got to pick among the solutions that integrate with your system rather than the best solution on the market. So what the important thing was, I think, for restaurants is this a community that can help solve some of our challenges, mainly, and top of the list being interoperability and open architecture. What is an open API? People say they have an open API, but do they really? What do we really define as an open API in the restaurant industry? So what it really does, and to your point about partnerships, it really brings suppliers in the same room, virtual room, that is, to get in these virtual think tank like work groups, we call them, and really roll up their sleeves together. And what we're looking for is, we're not looking for you, Mr. Revel Systems, for example. We're not looking for you to bring your secret sauce to the discussion, right? That is absolutely not what we're looking for. We're looking for sameness. We're looking for any glue that can stick us all together and help us innovate faster. So if we can solve the problem of open architecture and give the restaurants an open API framework, which is what we published about 6 months ago to the industry. It took us 2 years to do it. But we came up with an open API architecture with 8 key principles. And those key principles are the principles by which, if you have those boxes checked, you constitute an open API in the eyes of the biggest restaurant and supplier brands in this universe. So really, that's something that we created to conquer. I guess it was the foundational element by which everything else that we do stems. So if we can all speak the same language about what constitutes an open API, and then we can move on to what constitutes a menu synchronization standard, a customer data record standard, what makes a transaction data standard. So all of these things we're working on now that are data models that would sort of tie into the open API framework. And one of the key principles there is to adopt the industry decided upon data models, which is what we're putting out there. So you have competitors in the same room rolling up their sleeves, working these things out for the benefit of the industry, which is really a cool thing. It's not just a utopia, airy-fairy thing. It's really happening.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, the one that really wins from this is the consumer, the guy that's buying this technology, the restaurateur, and then ultimately the consumer of the restaurant food and beverages, because they're going to get better service, they're going to get better data, they're going to get better things. And so, are you at liberty to share those 8 principles that you guys kind of founded RTN on and talk through those pieces?
Absolutely. I will share them. I will not talk them too much because I'm afraid we might lose some folks.
Okay. Got you. Okay.
But we have standardized terms and SLAs, right? Easily understood terms, requirements, and expectations across all levels of support and agreement. So just really simple to understand terms when you're dealing, when you're selling your solution to a restaurant. We have pricing and business model transparency. That kind of speaks for itself. We have validation and certification, which are, business partners must be able to audit and verify connectivity and appropriate usage. We have self-service sign up for API partners. So you should have easily accessible, straightforward process to initiate integration for projects. We have public-facing documentation. That's probably a low-hanging fruit for a lot of suppliers. Thorough, easily accessible public information about how to access, consume, and receive support for your API. Then we have the reuse of best practice data. That's the one I just mentioned, where you're using the standardized data models across all functions whenever possible. We have testing, sandbox environments, which is highly desirable from the restaurants that we've spoken with. Appropriate and easily accessible testing suites, where we could utilize common tools and test this out, whereas the burden's not always all on the restaurant. Then we have extensibility, enhancement, and flexibility and updates. So it must be, the API needs to be actively supported with an appropriate roadmap, including end-of-life announcements and that kind of thing. So those are the 8 key principles in a nutshell. If you go to the restauranttechnologynetwork.com, you can look under the resources tab, you'll see Open API Standard. And you can see all the brands that were associated with this, some of the biggest brands in the industry: AWS, Bloomin', Brinker, CKE, Inspire, NCR, Omnivore, OpenTable, Oracle, the list goes on and on and on. Yum, Wendy's, White Castle, blah, blah, blah. And then you can scroll down and you can actually watch the webinar, which is really cool. It's with Phil Crawford, who's the Chief Technology Officer of CKE, Gagan Singh, who's the Senior VP of Restaurant Tech for Inspire, and Jim Vitek, who's the VP of Digital Commerce for Yum. And those 3 guys really introduced the API, Open API framework, way better than I just did. And they talk in their own language about why it's important to their brands. And those are some pretty heavy hitters in the industry.
Yeah, well, and thank you for that. And I think for those that haven't already checked out the RTN webinar, it was fantastic. Those guys did a great job of articulating what it is that you guys do. I know we went super deep on your guys' principles. For those restaurateurs out there that might not be super deep into tech, just understand that all of those principles that they put together are really allowing a standard across the board. And Angela, you guys didn't create this completely from scratch, I don't think. I think you guys used a model. Are you able to talk about kind of where you guys borrowed some of these ideas of creating some collaboration? Because I think there was somebody that
we created this from scratch.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I would say to you, Jeremy, that like a lot of the people that participated in this were, they're familiar with arts, they're familiar with other standards organizations, but really, we wanted it to be cultivated we wanted this to be just for the restaurant industry. We don't want to borrow a standard from somebody else when it comes to what we consider to be an open API, right? So we wanted to get the restaurants and the brands involved to say, what's really important, right? And we took this to our board of governors and we said, is this on track? Even after 2 years of collaborative work and really getting into the weeds of every single one of these fundamental foundational elements I just mentioned, we took it to our board of governors and we said, is this, and we really polished it up even more from there and got it, to where the restaurants were saying, this is important, this is important. And, every restaurant's going to think some of these are more important than others. Mm-hmm. So another tool we've created kind of a checklist, like it's a fillable PDF form, and it's a checklist by which you can insert into your RFP or RFI, and you can say, how far along are you on these things? I mean, we know that all vendors aren't going to meet all of these off the bat, and they're not, maybe not even half of them. But as long as this is important to you, that because it's important to the restaurants that you're supporting, and as long as it's on your radar and in your roadmap, then I think restaurants will be excited about that. And that's what that worksheet really does. It tells you how far along you can check how far along you are, honestly, and you can explain why it's important to you or what you're doing. And maybe you're doing something different that it complements one of these, but it's not exactly the same thing. And all of that is okay, right? But it's just a stake in the ground, if you will.
Got you. Well, and I think the thing I'd love so I guess first and foremost, congratulations on creating such a new standard, because I think there's a lot of people that might look at something like this and say it's so daunting. There's so many technology providers, and you alluded to it earlier when we were teasing about Silicon Valley. The amount of technology in a restaurant is probably 10x what it was 10 years ago, if not more. And the pandemic has only accelerated that. But what is the ultimate benefit to the restaurateur from partnering with somebody that's part of the RTN as they go to market? Is that a badge of honor that they need to be looking for before they even look at a technology partner? Would you encourage restaurateurs that are on a technology solution that's not part of RTN to go at least look at it and see if it makes sense?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
I would say all those above. I mean, it can't hurt, right, to be part of this and support this. I think, Gagan Singh from Inspire said it best on the webinar, and he said it many times, and all of them have, is like, we're going to look really closely at people who are adopting this. This is going to be the way, and Jim Vitek at Yum, this is the way forward for us. So you're either on board or you're not. You're either going to be part of the solution or you're not going to be in the RFP. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. And that those statements from those restaurants, that big restaurants, big names, that is powerful. And so if that's not an incentive to join this or get on board, or at least, this stuff is all public facing on our website, at least go look at it and try to see how close you are to meeting these new foundational principles and or along the roadmap. And maybe you want to think about, maybe we should open up a little bit more. Maybe we should look at these best practice data models. Maybe we should look at how to do the self-service sign up for API partners easier. And so all of this stuff, is readily available on our website for anyone to access. But if you are passionate about restaurant technology and you're a supplier who feels that you really, really want to roll up your sleeves and get involved and help shape the future of restaurant technology, and you have the technology chops to do it, we really encourage you to join us, because we really recognize those who participate in big ways, right? We promote, we get them on the stage, right? Either physically at an event, or we have them on webinars talking to the industry about how they worked and led the work group onto this great deliverable that the industry can now access. So, there's glory in doing it. And there's also just the fun in collaborating with techies like yourself to sort of help shape the future of where we're going.
Yeah, which is, thank you for that. And you actually set me up perfectly, which is, you guys are 3 years in. I'm guessing that the vision is greater than where you guys are at today. And I would guess that the pandemic accelerated some portions of what you guys do and hindered other portions of it. Where do you guys see this going? Where do you and Abby and the team at RTN really see this going? Where do you see the next steps? And you talked about it a little bit, but I think there's a lot more underneath the covers as you guys start to dig into how to get these things and different pieces of technology to talk to each other, different pieces of restaurants talking to techs, all of that kind of stuff. Talk to me a little bit about where you guys are at and where you guys are going from here.
Yeah, we're churning along with different work groups. As soon as one work group retires, we could start another one. We just published a POS security implementation best practices piece of work that's on the website, readily available for anyone. The Open API framework also has a complimentary document there that you can read through if you're confused about anything. It really outlines and goes into depth about everything. We have a menu synchronization standard we just published. We also have tools like contactless technologies tools, contactless payments, where you can just search for the right fit based on a quick questionnaire. And we have, like, for example, a TCO calculator where you can look and see and plug in your own attributes to see how close are you to move into maybe a hybrid model or native delivery. Can you afford to jump away from third-party delivery? Can you go there, right? Can you save that 30% potential commission? So there are all kinds of tools there. But as far as the future, we're looking for this to be a global organization, right? We already have members in Latin America. We have obviously Canada. We have Chinese and other Asian partners that we're collaborating with. We're collaborating with someone in Japan right now who has a similar restaurant technology organization. So there's a lot of cool international, like, borderless stuff going on, because I don't think, to my knowledge, there's no restaurant technology standards, that exist. Maybe not even in the world. Maybe in other languages in other countries that I don't know about. But if we can lead the way and make this available to other countries, then, a brand like TGI Fridays, who has, all over the world, can easily, implement these standards, whether you're in Brazil or, Chicago. So that's kind of where we see it going, is really, not only standardizing on these things, but, really disseminating the standards. We want people to grab them and use them, right? And that's why the foundations are so important, because if the API foundation is there that says that you should use the best practice models, we hope that more suppliers will go, what is that menu synchronization standard? Maybe I should be, coding my solution to complement whatever's already there. It's extensive work on Swagger Hub that's been created. The software code is all there. All the fields are there. So it's exciting. I think we just have the sky's the limit kind of vision for it, and we just hope that it helps restaurants innovate faster. And that, at the end of the day, that's really what we're all about.
I love that. I love that idea, because really, and it's been a hallmark of the organization you work for, which is really, let's try and help restaurants do things better. Let's do them smarter. Let's do them faster. It's not just, hey, show up and we're going to, serve cocktails and dinner and whatever. It's always been about how do we be better? And, over the 20 plus years that Murtech's been around, and really the last 3 years as you guys have been doing this, it's really helping to accelerate the growth. And quite frankly, my next line of questioning, Angela, is really around the pandemic. And, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. More and more restaurateurs continue to have to implement technology to compete in today's marketplace. I would say 5 years ago, restaurants were really in the laggard category as it relates to adoption of technology. But in the last 16, 18 months, it's really had to accelerate, not just with the pandemic, but take third-party delivery, take, just the seating things, all of the different things that have happened both here in the United States and around the world with the coronavirus. Things have had to change. Talk to me a little bit about how RTN's played a part in helping the restaurants be able to do that through this last 16 months, because the organization was founded before that. You guys really had some runway to go with it. And what did it look like for the restaurants that you guys were engaged with as they were trying to, lick their wounds from the pandemic and whatnot?
It's a great question. And we stood up a COVID-19 restaurants only work group. And we had, at its height, we had about, 230, I think, restaurants on those calls. And really we would share whatever was going on, right? We would share all of the new articles that came out that week. It was every week. We would share every single thing that we saw in the news that caught our eye about how restaurants were pivoting, what they were doing to innovate, what kind of technologies they were standing up and how quickly, and what kinds of things, everybody. And then everybody really just, opened up and shared with each other. It allowed everyone to say, competitor or non-competitor, we're all in this together. And, what benefits one brand can benefit another. It's all about, hey, how much have you made on your tequila sales, on your alcohol sales? What is your off-prem business jump? Is it you went from 2% to 15% during the coronavirus? Or how are you doing texting from the parking lot? How are you standing up those pickups? And what are you doing in the neighborhood? People are pitching tents in the neighborhood and selling things, and taking stuff like Chicken Salad Chick did a great job of that, taking stuff to the neighborhood. And, other restaurants were doing like cookie design kits to take home and do for Easter. And, the creativity that came out of it was astounding. And I think those restaurants that stuck in and innovated and really weren't afraid to go there. And if anything, it's taught us to be braver, I think, because restaurants, I think, have always been cautious about moving too quickly and sort of pivoting their business models traditionally. And now it's the wild, wild west in a great way. So if you want to look at something that's really come out of it, instead of like licking the wounds, I would say it's like, jumping out of bed and going, oh my God, let's get it. Time to make the donuts, right? It's time to get things done. Yeah. And everybody just kind of came together and talked about the innovative things they were doing, the concepts they were piloting. And it really helped everybody else to kind of see what was working, like, what wasn't. The grocerant concept. I mean, when you think back about it, it's insane. Giving away toilet paper, the things that happened were really unprecedented. I mean, it was an unprecedented time and it called for extreme measures. And I do think that restaurants, it got into the DNA of the restaurant leadership, I would say. And I think that scrappiness has always been in the restaurant DNA, and it just came out, and it came out full force. And now it's like, it's still there. It's like a badge of courage that you survived it, and you're scrappy and you're innovative, and you're not going to let that fade. Because I have talked to so many restaurants who have said, this has been the most exciting thing I've ever done in my career, especially technologists. They have been able to roll things out on a dime, and they've been able to, they've just been given the green light on things that they've had in their pipeline for years, sometimes decades, they've wanted to do. So it was an incredible, unprecedented time. And I hope that spirit of scrappiness continues to live on and breathe in the restaurant technology universe, because I feel like that's what's going to get us ahead.
I love
These
that. I love
business models have emerged. Crazy, right? Crazy business models. Look at the virtual brands and the ghost kitchens and, dark kitchens. Look what Wow Bao's doing. I mean, it's really, a brand like, Chuck E. Cheese creating a Pasquale's pizza in a dark kitchen, or, Brinker creating, It's Just Wings. And the phenomenal success that's had. They've just really been super ideation focused. And I just think that it's created these incremental revenue streams that aren't going away. I mean, another broken egg, right? They had no takeout, and then now they're up to 15 or so, maybe even more % of off-prem business. And it's incremental revenue for their franchisees that they were able to test in their corporate stores during COVID. And now it's like, there's 15% incremental revenue from off-prem sales that is here to stay. And that kind of stuff is really cool.
Today's episode is brought to you by the team over at 7 Shifts. You guys may recognize that name because I had their founder on the show in July talking about the inception of what it is that they do related to labor management and staff management and scheduling. Great guy, great origin story related to growing up in the restaurants and solving a real problem for his family's business. You may also recognize their name because they were recently in the news because they just took a $20 million round of funding from the Union Square Hospitality Group, which those unfamiliar, it's Danny Myers out of New York City, his group that committed to work with the 7 Shifts team and help fund their continued growth. For listeners of the podcast, you guys can check out the software for free for 90 days by going to 7shifts.com/restaurant-technology-guys. And they would love to talk with you. Great restaurant people, great technologists, and a really great product. Well, and I love so many of those reminders because I've done, so many podcasts over the last, 14 months as we've been going, 15 months, however long it's been, listening to restaurateurs do these things. And I love that you guys were a collaboration hub to help people learn those things. I mean, it's part of what we do here on the podcast is garner these things that people are doing and then try and put them out into the public. But yeah, whether it's the grocery concept, whether it's the virtual brands, whether it's the adoption of technology, I really do agree with you that it's going to accelerate the growth of these restaurants and truly give them the capability and the opportunity to innovate and to change their brands more than they ever have. I think there was a lot of fear factor, as you said, in the beginning, not just in the beginning of the pandemic, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, where it's like, well, if I do this, I might drive away some of my customers if I try and innovate too much or go too far away from my core. And so it was a much longer cycle to test things. I think the testing cycle of technology, the testing cycle of different business models has been tremendous and just really fun to watch. And having been in the industry, as we talked about, for so long, it's been cool to watch. And, I feel really bad for those guys that just said, you know what, we're going to hunker down and hope this thing goes away and didn't innovate, because there's lots of different things that have happened through that time. And I think there's a lot of things that you alluded to that have really helped people take it to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, think about, it's just crazy to think about like somebody like Reef Kitchens, Reef Technology, look at what they have. They have 4,500 locations, and you can order however many brands out of one location. And they have that driver's license recognition technology when you drive in. And I mean, just the innovation there. And even look at like El Pollo Loco doing drone delivery. That was in the news just the other day. And, then of course you got Domino's with their Neuro robot. And so there's some exciting things around the horizon. And I don't think we're slowing down. I think that if anything, this has taught us that technology has a place at that leadership ELT table, right? The CTOs and the CIOs and the chief architects of the restaurant industry have spoken, and they've done some brilliant, brilliant things. And they're true leaders, right? And they've been at that table, and they should stay there.
Yeah, no, and I say it often that there's not a project that happens within the restaurant today that doesn't involve IT. 10 years ago, you could, do new POP or do new something within the four walls of the restaurant, but nowadays everything's plugged in. Everything's interconnected, even refrigeration and heating and stoves. I mean, IT's got to be involved in some way, shape, or form in every single project that goes in. And so,
look at White Castle, using a robot in their fryer area. I mean, it's the Miso robotics thing has taken off, and even Spice, a kitchen that's just all robotic. It's just really cool. It's a cool time, I think. And I think the balance in the future will be, how do we balance what's core to hospitality, which is that human connection, with robotics, and I think that smart technologists in this space will figure that out, and have already started. So that's what excites me
have
about
absolutely
intelligence and machine learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a interview that just recently posted on the podcast with Steve Simoni, the founder of Bebot, and we were talking about the fact that their inception really started before they started doing tableside ordering and tableside payment with a robot that was doing, bar delivery. And I'm like, really? Like, I had no idea until I got on the interview with him that's really where they came from. And it's like, that's really cool that, I get bottle service in my
I don't know if they still have the robot logo. They had that little blue robot logo thing. Bebot is one of the, by the way, Bebot, it was one of the winners of our Startup Alley. They were in the top 3. It was PathSpot, Bebot, and Voltonics were our 3 big winners. And we had, what I call celebrity judges from like big restaurant brands walking around looking at their stuff, judging with scoring cards and all that good stuff. So that was super exciting. And he's taken that company, I think they've recently gotten some funding and they're doing great for themselves. So congratulations to Stephen.
Yeah, no, good guy. And if you haven't checked out that podcast, please do so, because they're doing some really cool stuff for the restaurant industry, and they are a member of RTN, I believe. I think they were on the website, and so I think we're in a good spot. So Angela, talk to me about what does it look like to get involved? If I'm on this call, I'm a technology provider, I'm a restaurateur, I want to understand more about RTN, more about your guys' in-person events. Things are starting to open back up. I know you guys got an event in the fall. Talk to me a little bit about ways that they can participate either with RTN or with your guys' parent company to engage, learn, educate, give back, those kind of things.
So find me on LinkedIn, Angela Diffly. With Restaurant Technology Network. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I live. That's my home away from home. And you can reach out to me about anything you're interested in, and I can get you to the right person. But I would say that, suppliers come into the Restaurant Technology Network and they fuel the network with their contributions. So they do support financially the organization. So suppliers pay to be members, and there are different levels of membership. So if you're a startup, especially, it's a very low barrier to entry. And then restaurants come into the network at no cost. So we like to bring restaurants in and let them just come in, because what we are is an organization for restaurants, and so we want them to feel free to come in and take advantage of all these tools that the suppliers work so hard in tandem with the restaurants to create. So we really want the restaurants to feel like they can come in and get more involved in our work groups, because we really want to know about what their pain points are and their challenges. So we encourage the restaurants to come in and really use the work groups as their R&D. Hey, throw us a problem. There's not a problem out there that our smart technology teams in these work groups can't solve. I can tell you that right now. We have some of the smartest people in the industry in these work groups, and they are just, they geek out, right? They love it. So I would say that for restaurants, there's absolutely no barrier to entry. Just go to our website and you can sign up right there, and we can, get you started and get you connected to the right folks. For suppliers, just reach out to me and I'll find the right folks to get you jump started and let you know about what the different membership tiers are. For events, the same thing. I can get you in touch with the account folks that can help you out with our events. And then, I would just say all in all, and then we also have a space for consultants in our universe. We have a consultant page. If you're looking for a consultant that is expert in rolling out point of sale throughout franchisees, for example, we have those, right? We have really specific consultants in our network as well, and they're phenomenal. So if you go to our website, you can find our consultant page and look up the listings there if you're looking for a really savvy industry consultant as well. So it's just trying to bridge everybody together to create the best outcome, which would be the cool best practices, technology guidance, and industry standards that we're publishing really at a fast clip.
I love that. And again, I think it reiterates the point that I made earlier, which is just that all in all, you guys have always been one of those organizations that's really trying to help the restaurateur, and by any means necessary to help them to get to that place. So I love that you guys allow them to get in. The one caveat I would say to your commentary is just to make sure, if you're going to join, that you participate, that you read, that you come, and the other shameless plug is Angela's fantastic on social. If you aren't already connected with her on LinkedIn, she's, take the publicist background. She's always putting out really, really cool articles about what different restaurants are doing, different technology partners. And so even if you just are a voyeur and sit and read the articles that she posts, you're in for a treat to learn about what others are doing. And it's going to spawn some ideas for the restaurants that are out there, if you aren't already doing those things, to really dig deep and do some different things. And so, Angela, I thank you very much, and I think the whole team and the tireless work that you guys have done at RTN, because it's so awesome to hear and see what you guys are doing. What else did we miss on today's conversation that we need to make sure that we bring up before we sign off for the day?
I don't think we missed anything. I mean, I think we had a fun conversation. It kind of invigorated me. I feel excited. I mean, I know that I geek out a little bit too about restaurant technology and what restaurants are doing, but I'm just such a cheerleader for the restaurants, right? And I see El Pollo Loco looking at drone delivery, and I'm just like, go El Pollo Loco, go. I see that Krispy Kreme's about to go IPO, and I'm like, go Krispy Kreme. I saw Olo on the Times Square, and it's just like, I just feel like this is such an exciting time to be in this industry. And I hope everybody that's listening feels the same way. And I hope that this little chat that we've had leaves you with some excitement and invigorates you to want to check out RTN and be a part of it, right? Be a deeper part of it and join us. We're looking for smart folks to jump on board, even if you're just looking to learn from other smart folks and get more integrated into the industry. So we just hope that we're a platform for those types of really cool connections. We've seen connections happen that we've created, and then we've seen acquisitions happen because of those connections. We've seen partnerships come together in the work groups where they actually took it offline and worked together on a cool project for a restaurant. So we've seen some really cool things happen. And I wouldn't say that RTN is a platform for sales, but certainly unique and collaborative. When you talk to smart people and you go, restaurants on the call, that guy really knows about this. I'm going to put that in my head and keep that in my head. And we have restaurants coming to us all the time saying, do you know people that do this? Do you know people that do this? Who does this best? And we crowdsource for them and we go back and let them know anonymously, right? So restaurants don't have to fear a bunch of sales calls, right? It's not the goal of this network is really just to have that organic connection forming. And I think that's what I'm really most proud of, is that it's a place where people can organically meet the right people to make things happen.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think for those that are out listening, if you guys haven't already checked it out, you guys should go check it out. Go watch that webinar that they did a few weeks back. It was fantastic. Lots of nuggets of truth came out of that I thought was really, really impactful. Angela, I know you and I have known each other for a couple of years, but it's been awesome catching back up with you. I can't wait till the fall when we're back in person at our first. I think it's is you guys' first or second post-pandemic in-person meeting?
It's our first post-pandemic in-person event. It'll be October 13th through the 15th in Orlando, Mertech Executive Summit. And then we have Mertech mark your calendars, everyone. March 7th through 9th, 2022 in Las Vegas. Mertech will rise again.
I love it. Well, I'm excited to see what RTN builds into. I think it's been a great last 3 years as I've watched on the sideline, watching what you guys are doing, and been really fun to watch and love taking some of the trips down, some of the things that different restaurateurs have done. It's been awesome. To our listeners, guys, we know that you guys have got many, many choices of podcasts to listen to. So we appreciate you guys spending, 45 minutes or so with us each and every time we post one of these. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, because then anytime we post a new one, it'll show up in your feed. While you guys are online, go subscribe to the newsletter. It's once a month, just goes out and gives you all of the blog posts and the podcasts that get posted, so you don't miss one. Angela, thank you again for your time, and to our audience, make it a great day.
Jeremy, thank you so much for this. You do great work in the industry, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Have a good one, Angela. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. Visit restauranttechnologyguys.com for tips, industry insights, and more to help you run your restaurant better.